Most people misread human nature not because it is complex, but because it is uncomfortable. People are less driven by truth and more driven by perception. What feels right, what protects identity, and what maintains social harmony often matters more than what is objectively accurate. In conversations, individuals rarely change their opinions when presented with better arguments. In social groups, agreement is often valued more than accuracy. People align themselves with the dominant tone of the group, even when they privately disagree. This happens because the human mind prioritizes psychological safety over intellectual honesty. To admit being wrong is not just a logical correction, it is a threat to identity. A deeper layer of this pattern emerges in how people interpret others. Most individuals do not see others as they are. They see them through filters of past experiences, insecurities, and expectations. This means that reactions are often less about the present moment and more about unresolved patterns from the past. When someone reacts strongly, it is often not about the current situation. It is about what that situation represents internally. A simple disagreement can feel like disrespect. Silence can feel like rejection. Another overlooked aspect of human nature is the silent exchange of status. Every interaction, no matter how casual, contains subtle signals of hierarchy. This is not about dominance in an obvious sense, it is about perceived value. In conversations, people constantly assess who is more confident, who is more certain, and who appears less affected. The person who seems less reactive often gains unspoken authority. The one who seeks validation tends to lose it. This can be observed in group settings. The psychology behind this is rooted in perception. Humans associate calmness with control. When someone appears unaffected, it suggests they are not dependent on external approval. This creates an impression of stability and strength. There is also a second layer to this dynamic. People do not only respond to what is said, they respond to how it is said, and more importantly, how it feels. Tone, timing, and emotional control often matter more than the content itself. Another pattern that becomes clear over time is that people reveal themselves more through what they tolerate than what they say. Words are flexible. They can be shaped to fit situations. Behavior, however, follows deeper patterns. In relationships and social environments, boundaries define perception. When someone consistently allows disrespect, it becomes normalized. People test limits subtly. A delayed response here, a dismissive tone there. Each small action gathers information. It answers an unspoken question. How far can this go? Once a pattern is established, it becomes difficult to reverse. This is why early interactions often shape long-term dynamics. First impressions are not just about likability. They are about setting invisible rules. Another difficult truth about human nature is that attention is selective. People notice what reinforces their internal narrative. If someone believes they are undervalued, they will focus on moments that confirm it. If someone believes they are respected, they interpret ambiguity more positively. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Perception shapes interpretation, and interpretation strengthens perception. There is also a tendency to overestimate how much others think about us. In reality, most people are preoccupied with their own concerns. Individuals adjust their behavior based on imagined judgments that rarely exist. This is why authenticity feels risky, but is usually neutral in outcome. Another subtle pattern is emotional contagion. Humans absorb emotional states from their environment more than they realize. Calmness spreads, anxiety spreads, confidence spreads. This explains why certain individuals influence the atmosphere of a room without speaking much. Their internal state becomes external. Others adjust unconsciously. Because of this, self-control is not only personal, it is social. Emotional regulation affects not just individual experience, but group dynamics. Understanding these patterns shifts perception. Behavior stops appearing random. Reactions become predictable. Social interactions begin to feel structured rather than chaotic. It becomes clear that most behavior is not intentional in the way it appears. It is patterned. It follows internal rules shaped by experience, identity, and environment. This awareness does not lead to manipulation. It leads to clarity. It reduces unnecessary emotional reactions. It creates distance between stimulus and response. Over time, this distance becomes a form of quiet control. Human nature does not change quickly. It repeats itself in different forms. The same patterns appear in friendships, workplaces, and social groups. Only the context changes. The more these patterns are observed, the less surprising people become. And the less surprising they become, the less reactive one feels. At a certain point, the focus shifts inward, not toward controlling others, but toward understanding one's own patterns with the same level of honesty. Because the most difficult part of understanding human nature is not recognizing it in others, it is recognizing it in oneself.